What's up, my grillers? Today's episode was plagued by some pretty awful audio. We're having some problems with our recording software, so we're going to be switching it up in the future. That being said, this is a pretty funny episode, so I decided to put it out anyways. Thanks for listening.
Coming with the heat. I stay fooling with my bop, my tunes will make your speakers hot. Dance floor, hopscotch, baby, do the pop and lock. Boots I'm trying to knock.
Now recording.
Is it really decades of failure though? I mean, like
Absolutely.
The entire modern world is upheld by centrism. Like I'd say radical.
Centrism is what got us here. Centrism
Exactly.
is, that's not a good thing. Things are bad. Things are
How are
very,
they bad?
very bad. Oh man, do you want me to go?
Things are great right now, dude.
Things are great for you personally, which is literally the definition of centrism.
Yes, that's why I love centrism. Everything's great.
So what you guys have to accept is that other people exist, I guess. And I know it's really hard to accept that on the internet because I'm not even sure that you guys aren't Russian bots. You could just be really advanced.
Neither
Russian.
am I.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think y'all, other people are real.
And they should be centrists because then they'll also be having a good time like me.
Yeah, that's the fundamental part of centrist ideology is that we look at both sides and we see real people on both sides. Like I'm not interested in coloring different people on other sides as like I'm not interested in dehumanizing them. I'm interested in looking at the parts of their ideologies that work and then meshing together the good parts and the bad parts, you know?
Okay, so for example, what sort of good policies do you think have come out of the Republican Party in the last 20 years?
That's a good question. I would say, well, here's the thing, is that I don't think any good policy has come out of either party in the last 20 years.
Oh, so that's really what centrism is, which is what I said. It's apathy.
But it's not
professional apathy that you have elevated to the point where it's almost a performance art. And for that, I honestly do think that's pretty funny. And I appreciate it from from the perspective of an entertainer. But as a real political ideology, I think that you're full of shit.
Oh, okay. Here's a good policy from the Republican Party: destroying net neutrality.
Why do you like net neutrality or hate net neutrality? I forget which one is the good one.
So, based land chat of the internet, Ajit Pai, he is famous for destroying net neutrality. Net neutrality is basically this. So, how the internet worked before when net neutrality was in place was that all data had to be treated the same. An ISP had to treat all data the same. They couldn't say, oh, you're streaming like 2 terabytes of porn every day. We're going to throttle that, right? So you had these giant hogs, these consumers who just basically hijacked the internet, who used all the data, and based Ajit Pai came in and he said no. And he fought for the ISPs, he fought for the common man in saying, we're going to regulate the usage of this data, right?
That doesn't sound right to me at all.
Okay, but you just asked me what it is, and now I explained it, and now you don't believe me.
I knew what it was. I just forgot what the proper label for the correct perspective was, which is that the net neutrality is what sort of forced them to treat all data equally, which is a good thing because it doesn't allow the internet service providers, which for some reason you just equated with the people.
The common man, yes.
The common man / the internet service providers. And to you, there's literally nothing wrong with that sentence.
Okay,
No, there's not.
I have some disagreements here because I actually think that net neutrality is almost a left-wing position, weirdly. Because the whole thing that was weird with net neutrality was if you look at these like social media movements around it, like if you go on Reddit and you go to top posts of all time for like half the communities, the top one will be arguing against net neutrality. And the thing about this was it was really obviously like a grab by the social media companies. Like all of them like promoted the shit out of like stop Ajit Pai because it was like a war between the ISPs and social media corporations, which I don't know how to pick a side on that because I actually hate all of them. Like I really hate Comcast, but I also hate Facebook and Twitter. So
I can go ahead and pick a side because ISPs are just the landlords of the internet.
Oh, and
they
landlords are. That's not a thing that exists. You can't be. Okay. No.
Landlords are a
I'm
minority
not drunk
group.
enough for this shit.
Landphobia absolutely exists. Do not erase my people's struggles, okay? Landphobia happens all the time. But we're getting off into the weeds here.
And we will. You are commodifying the language of revolutionaries on the left for your bullshit agenda.
What are you talking about? I don't understand.
You can't just say landphobia as if it's an equal sin to, homophobia or transphobia or things that are actual problems.
Well, obviously I can, first of all. And second of all,
you could do whatever you want, but you can't do it and be taken seriously.
Wait. Have you ever heard Have you ever heard of the Cultural Revolution? How about Pol Pot? Landphobia has literally killed millions and millions of people. I would argue landphobia.
Can you elaborate on that, please?
Pretty much every communist revolution has led to the murder of every landlord. That's landphobia taken to a murderous extreme that has killed millions and millions of people. Like, every landlord in Cambodia was killed. Every landlord in China was killed. Like, it's actually, if you want to look at real-world effects, there have almost certainly been more people killed due to landphobia than particularly due to transphobia. By far. I mean, by millions and millions, like hundreds of millions.
You cannot erase landphobia. You cannot erase my culture.
I could continue to erase things that don't exist.
But they exist. We just proved they exist. Millions of Chad lords have been destroyed.
You proved that people died in communist China. That's what you have proved.
You have not proved being landlords.
You have not proved that landphobia is a serious concern.
Okay, that's like saying,
anti-Semitism
isn't a serious concern because the Holocaust happened.
I have said nothing.
That's the same thing, man. That's the same thing.
It's not the same thing. The systematic annihilation of a minority group is not the same thing.
It is.
Okay. Would you say that landlords are not a minority group? I mean, they are a minority, right?
The truth is that people choose to be landlords and they don't choose to be Jews. So it's the same thing as y'all, as with the Blue Lives Matter movement. You choose to be a cop. You're a cop 40 hours a day or week rather. God damn.
I didn't choose to be a landlord. I inherited my land. God damn it.
Oh my God. Look, I think that you should try caring about something. That's what I think.
I do care about things. I care about my people.
You pretend to
care about people of land.
Because you want the approval of weirdo internet strangers on Leftbook for some reason. Which is no way to live, son.
I don't want anyone's approval. I just want to tell my truth.
Yeah.
I'm speaking my truth.
You're buried under so many layers of irony that I don't think that you know what your truth is.
Yeah, you kind of have a point there.
But I think that's how a person should be. I feel like if you're actually educated on any political issue, like at a certain point, you just realize that, like, Jesus Christ, this is all way too complicated for me to take some cookie cutter, like, weird political opinion and just run with it and let it dictate my life. Like, if you actually... there's very smart people that believe a lot of conflicting things. People that know a lot more than me. And so when I look at them, I'm just like, geez, there's all these good ideas. And realistically, do I know anything about how to run a society with, like, millions and millions of people? Probably not. So, I don't know. Like,
right.
If you aren't buried under tons and tons of layers of irony, you're actually just ignorant.
I could certainly relate to not caring about people because I don't care about anything. I don't really care about myself. So I get it. I understand where you're coming from.
What's up, guys? Orion from the Grillcast here. We have experienced catastrophic recording failure once again. It seems like I'm gonna have to switch our recording interface at this point, so sorry about that. We're gonna pick up from another segment. Thank you for listening.
Recognizing that corporations need to be kept in check is a really, really good start. Now, the government is already Well, it's not exactly well regulated, but it's better regulated than the corporations themselves. So
Is
if you
it?
are, if
Is
you,
it?
And
yeah,
that's a problem.
yeah, we have laws that impact politicians a lot more than they impact corporations.
I, I would disagree fundamentally with that. I mean, have you seen the CIA? Have you seen Syria lately,
Okay,
bro?
well,
Like,
obviously the CIA acts in an extra legal capacity. So obviously, I'm not here to shill for the government right now. That's not what I'm about. But if you recognize that
Just for land
corporations,
phobia.
right, yeah, just for land phobia, right? If I get canceled for land phobia, I swear to God, I'm coming after you, bud.
I don't know, man. I think that the government and the private sector, they need to regulate each other. They need to live symbiotically and not be at odds with each other, but at the same time not assist each other. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
They need to work as regulatory forces for each other, and that's something
Well,
hold as a belief. Is that centrist to you?
somewhat. I mean, would you be in favor of overturning Citizens United?
Well, no, because corporations ostensibly are people.
No, they are not in any way, shape, or form people. That is completely absurd.
But they're made up of people, right?
But they're made up of people. So what you do is you give people rights and not corporations, and then the people who work for the corporations will still have rights, you dipshit!
No,
who
no, no,
do you
no.
decide what a person is?
That's like, yeah, it's like when people say, like, oh, that fetus isn't a person, right? Or like,
Yeah.
oh, when they say, like, this is something. Has anyone ever told you that you're not a person for being Jewish?
No, nobody has ever told me that.
Well, that's a good thing. I would never want anybody to tell you that because that disgusts
This
me.
is this is why I opened with centrism is essentially nihilism, because what you're saying is that nothing is anything, and therefore the only thing that is valuable in this world is grilling, which honestly I'm a little sympathetic towards because I really do like to grill.
I wouldn't say nothing matters, but grilling, I would say that grilling matters the most out of anything, and that nothing
Anyone
matters
act.
compared to grilling. Grilling brings people together. Look, have you ever gone to a cookout and everyone's not just like vibing, bro? Doesn't happen.
Well, I mean, it happens. People got social anxiety and stuff, and they're just sort of hanging out in the corner, not talking to anybody. That happens at
Well,
barbecues
that's
too.
because they're wing cucks.
What is a
That's what
wing
happens
cuck?
when
Can
you're.
you can you is a wing cuck the same thing as somebody with an opinion?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, bud.
I would have social anxiety too if I had a bunch of opinions.
Yeah, you know what? That's not a bad take, honestly. If you stop caring about oh my word. I swear to God,
Are you
man.
getting grill pilled right now?
No,
You're seeing the light, it seems like.
as I said, I'm a centrist sympathizer. I'm certainly not a centrist, but I can relate to some of your values, including grilling and not caring about people. In fact, I did come prepared with a pitch for socialism that doesn't involve caring for people, which I think that you guys would appreciate. But we can save that for later because I know there were other topics that you wanted to cover.
I actually think that grilling is the epitome of caring about people. It's about caring about people despite their odd, opinions or, backgrounds, religious, political, whatever. It's about the idea that we can all come together and have a good time as long as we're not overly concerned about these weird political ideas that nobody really has a good stance on anyway.
Right? The things that you are objecting to do matter. Things that matter exist.
Like
And
what? Name one thing.
I did not
That's
expect
what
to
I
be put on
thought.
this. I did not expect to be put on the spot like this. Human beings matter. So, in general, like it's probably should be viewed as a bad thing, that we got a huge infant mortality rate or that sort of thing. That so few Americans have health care. That so few
Look,
Americans.
I'm pro-life too. I understand.
Shut up. You're just trolling. Right. So there are problems in this world and we need to address them in a way that isn't grilling meat. I mean, you have to admit that grilling meat will not cure anybody's cancer. It will not lower the infant mortality rate. It will not make education more accessible. And for God's sake, it certainly won't end the pandemic.
I think it could potentially do all those things by having people with different ideas and different backgrounds come together, They're sharing a meal, they're talking things through, and we can figure it out. We can,
See,
like you and me right now, we're having a nice discussion. We're figuring out the problems that are really affecting people, right? I think that's what grilling does.
I'm not opposed to grilling. I'm really not, although I'm iffy on the whole meat thing.
Whoa.
Yeah, we don't have to. Right. I mean, I just got a guilt complex. That's all. That's all that is. I feel bad. I mean, like animals go through some shit, and you're just gonna fucking eat them. That's crazy.
Yes.
All right, man.
Absolutely.
Whatever you got.
I mean, there's not just grilling though. There's baking. There's sautéing. Like I don't know. They're not as important as grilling, but they're there.
I mean, nothing from what I understand about centrist rhetoric is more important than grilling.
Yes.
Right.
Because grilling brings people together. Look,
You keep saying that. A lot of things bring people together.
And that's what we want.
Together, not being dead because they can't afford healthcare. That brings people together too.
I don't know about that. Sometimes being dead brings people together, like mass
That's
grave.
true. Yeah, no. Y'all are a bunch of clowns. I'm so glad I got drunk for this. It was the only way to do it.
I just grabbed another beer.
Yeah, right on, man.
Well, look, I kind of agree with that sentiment that being dead, more people have been dead than have been alive. So if anything, being dead does bring people together in heaven with God.
Do you think that it should be one of the roles of government should be to help prevent people from dying when they don't necessarily have to?
I'm definitely a controversial opinion, and I'm not really prepared to make a statement on whether it's the role of governments. I mean, like, one of the fundamental roles of government is to maintain a military and go to war, and that objectively has to do with killing people. Like, I would say the idea that is the role of government to keep people from dying is probably not true.
So I'm not going to get into like any specific wars because I don't think we have time for that, but I would argue, at least theoretically, that when a government does go to war, and just keep in mind this has never happened for the U.S. government, they are at least ostensibly doing it to protect their people. So in a twisted sort of sense, I guess war is a centrist way to preserve life.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
But no, when you just
killing people to save lives, that's a centrist tenet.
I think that my politics 100% come from the Justice League cartoon from the mid 2000s, as anybody should.
No, that's a good political basis. Actually, that's a really good show.
So there's a line that turned me woke when I was about 10 years old, which is Green Arrow. And there's this moment when Superman and all the other big powers are discussing what they're going to do about this rogue ops government group that built a nuke to launch at their watchtower. And Green Arrow is kind of like, hey, you know what? They kind of got a point because you guys have unchecked power, and that scares me. And when you get down to it, I'm an old lefty, and the role of government should be that it should do for the people what they can't do for themselves. Which in many cases is provide them with internet access, which is good for the world.
I disagree with that entirely.
You don't have to agree.
I'm not actually. I actually might agree with that because honestly, like talking to Comcast has taken away a lot of hours where I could be grilling. I do.
Yeah. See.
No.
There you go. Comcast
internet is not good for people. That is something I will fight for the rest of my life.
Internet access is essential in this day and age.
The internet has ruined people's brains.
And you say that as a guy who unironically refers to himself as a Chad Lord or whatever the fuck you call yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Do you think I'd be doing that without the internet?
Yeah, I think that the internet has ruined your brain. That's what I think is taking place here. But in general, it is an important resource.
Shots fired.
It is an essential resource. And I speak out of love. As a true centrist, I have no animosity towards any of you. You guys are strangers to me. And I appreciate that you're working really hard on your art, if you could call it that.
I appreciate that you're shit talking. We've not had anybody have the balls to come on here and shit talk because most people are afraid. Most people are afraid of looking as stupid as you do right now. So it's like, I appreciate that you would come on and give it your all.
I mean, it wasn't really a concern because I know that you have like 5 listeners.
I have literally dozens of listeners, god damn it.
No, dude, respect. I went there. I did the open mics in New York City with the 5 drunk hecklers in the back. I understand what it's like to struggle for your art, and I wish you the best. But I really do
Thank you,
wish
King.
you would try to offer something of value, or at least something entertaining. Which I swear to God, I'm trying to make this as entertaining as possible.
Well, I think that we do offer a lot of entertainment. I definitely offer something of value. For example, I set up a bot to buy a bunch of PS5s, and I have those for sale for only $1,350 plus tip.
Holy shit!
Yeah, so that's some value I provide for people because I know a lot of people are hurting without their soy boxes right now. I know that they need those, and
Wait, so you just made it so they could only pay $1,000 for it? That's what you did.
well, no, because they couldn't buy it because they weren't smart enough to set up a bot like me.
No, dude, you're literally the problem. Holy fuck.
No, because like if they were smart enough to do that, then maybe they could have gotten one, but they
No,
aren't.
it has
So-
it has nothing to do with intelligence. It has to do with like, hey, there's gonna be a kid on Christmas Day who doesn't get his PS5 now. That's really shitty, dude. You shouldn't do shit like that.
you'll still get it. It's just for I'm getting money too. It's
Have you
supply and
considered
demand.
that it's possible that and look, I understand, you want to scalp, you're going to scalp. I don't tend to
Yes.
go after individuals for their.
I feel like if they really wanted it so bad, they would have set up a scalping bot too. It's not that hard to code one. And
Do you actually think that it's that simple?
yeah, it was that simple, and now I have like 50 of them.
It was simple for you, and
Yeah.
the reason you did it, it doesn't. I don't think you did it out of intelligence, and I'm not saying you're not an intelligent man, because
You
you
better
are.
not. Thank
I
you.
wouldn't say that, but I think there was more to it than that. I think that it was the kind of thing that most people wouldn't have even thought to do.
Yeah,
Because they would think
they're not ascended.
they would. It's not because they can't think of it. It's because they wouldn't. It's because they're not shitty.
No, it's because Orion's legitimately suffering under this is some valid leftist criticism. He's suffering under the crippling grip of capitalism. He can't buy a third property right now, and so he needed to do that with those PS5s so he could get a third, property to rent out. And
Yeah,
Thank you.
I weep for Orion, and I'm sorry that you're going through all of that. That's awful. You should definitely be able to
Well, look,
do whatever
it's just
you want.
it's just a side hustle because right now we have the disastrous landphobic eviction moratorium put in place by noted landphobe Donald Trump, and so I'm having a hard time. I'm having a
Would
hard
you
time
say-
collecting run.
Would you say it's better than all those people end up on the streets? Because I feel like that would eventually come up and affect you when, we have 30% of the people in New York City who would end up homeless or that kind of thing. That would cause a huge economic ripple that would eventually affect you.
I mean, it's affecting me right now because
Right.
these leeches are just sitting in there for free, not paying me. And don't worry, I plan
They're
on
not
suing
leeches,
them.
they're broke.
Yeah,
they're-
they're broke leeches.
Look,
a lot of
I don't.
in
I don't
nature,
wanna-
all leeches are broke.
he's actually getting at an important point here, though. Homeless people, having them around lowers land values. So having a ton of people evicted and on the streets would end up lowering your property values, which would further hurt.
and that would literally
Oh
be
God, I didn't
the
even think of that.
The only problem with homeless people is that they're annoying to rich people. So I'm glad that you struck on that topic.
So
That was
that's the thing. That's
very
why we
important.
invented California, is so that we have somewhere to send all of these homeless people so that they don't lower our land values. And we've really been slipping on that, as a society. All these places, right now, where I live, there's all these homeless people here, and I'm where are the buses that take them down to California so they don't affect my property values? And so that is a valid role of government that is being neglected here. And that's, our public transportation needs more money so that we can ship all of these homeless people out of my neighborhood and to California. So, I don't know. That is a kind of valid piece of leftist critique where our government needs more funding to do this.
I
I
think
agree.
I think I'm having a stroke here. I gotta Holy fuck, dude. Do you want to talk about Obama? I think we've been on this topic for a bit now.
Yeah. Well, I think we just had a very constructive dialogue. We had a very constructive dialogue there,
Yeah, for
and
who?
I'm happy. I'm happy that I got to teach you some things. You got to teach us some things. It's been a beautiful exchange, and that's the spirit of the show. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
We
right on, man.
we're gonna get into some Obama stuff here.
My thought
Um,
he was a right-wing dictator with his like aggressive expansion of executive orders and all of his racist drone striking of brown people. Like I don't know, I can't really support right-wing.
I agree with that. I agree with that position, but I'm skeptical as to the true nature of why you're taking it.
all right, so we're gonna go ahead and go for our first video here. It proves that Obama doesn't grill.
How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. How was yours?
I didn't cook, but I ate a lot.
Do you even cook?
You know, I used to cook. I'll be honest with you. I don't fake it though. It's been 10 years since I since I made anything other than an omelet.
Whoa.
Obama, no.
Okay, so that video was really informative and important. I'm glad that you shared it with us. Because I would have thought that Obama would be the centrist king, the ultimate centrist. Obama recently made a statement about the slogan "defund the police," and he said, "Y'all are alienating centrists, which is bad. Don't do that." Which is, to me, the most possible centrist position that you can take. That it's more important to make sure that people who don't care about politics feel good than to care about Black lives.
And I agree with that. I'm glad
agree.
Obama said that.
And I'm sure you also agree. I'm sure you also agree that, like, the core centrist position, I think you would agree that talking about genocide, for example, is so much worse than conducting it, because talking about it makes people sad, and sad people don't buy things, and that would affect the economy. So the whole economy will, just take a hit if we talk about bad things. So we should only focus on,
I disagree with that.
Sellable. That things are super sellable. Have you seen how much money the news media's made the last few years? Like, I don't know, but I'm actually going to abolish the police centers. I want to replace them with community policing because I think
And I'm very vocal against genocide. I've been talking forever about how people of land are discriminated against or genocided. So I wouldn't agree with you there. But we are going to go ahead and actually play that video that you were talking about. I'm glad that you talked about it. Let's give it a listen.
When you were a community organizer, a lot of the folks in the community you were dealing with really just cared about modest change. They wanted to do better for their families. Again, if you're a young activist today and you believe really passionately in a slogan like defund the police, what is your advice to that activist, also knowing that a lot of politicians won't go near that phrase?
It's interesting. We take for granted, if you want people to buy your sneakers, that you're going to market it to your audience. If a musician drops a record, there's going to try to reach certain audiences, speaking to folks where they are. It's no different in terms of ideas. If you believe, as I do, that we should be able to reform the criminal justice system so that it's not biased and treats everybody fairly, I guess you can use a snappy slogan like defund the police, but you've lost a big audience the minute you say it, which makes it a lot less likely that you're actually going to get the changes you want done. But if you instead say, let's reform the police department so that everybody's being treated fairly, divert young people from getting into crime, and if there's a homeless guy, maybe we send a mental health worker there instead of an armed unit that could end up resulting in a tragedy. Suddenly, a whole bunch of folks who might not otherwise listen to you are listening to you. So the key is deciding, do you want to actually get something done, or do you want to feel good among the people you already agree with? And if you want to get something done in a democracy, in a country as big and diverse as ours, then you've got to be able to meet people where they are and play a game of addition and not subtract.
That's my president right there.
Can I ask you something? How good do you think Obama was at meeting people where they were, so to speak? How many concessions did Mitch McConnell give him? How many seats did he lose during his presidency? How well did his centrism work that essentially gave us Donald Trump? Obama, hey, we don't want to piss anybody off type rhetoric is wildly ineffective.
It seemed effective to me. He had a 2-term presidency. Here,
right.
he had a 2-term presidency, and Trump had a
and he
1-term
had a lot of
presidency. And
but-
he pissed people off. So I would say that his moderate position actually served him very well.
But he lost thousands of seats and had very few accomplishments, especially considering what he campaigned as, which was as a progressive. I don't think that Obama should be. I don't think that Obama should be lecturing anybody on the effectiveness of walking across the aisle.
I would disagree on that pretty hard. Like, I think that, I don't know. I think Obama's rhetoric worked. That's why he got elected in like a landslide, like twice. I think there's a separate, I don't think you can really pin like the modern failings of like the Democratic message or the Republican message or the current divisiveness on like Obama. I think that's because of how our media handles like these issues, and that's due to like a profit motive. Like, our media makes more money off of making a more divisive political atmosphere.
I would say that the reason he didn't accomplish much is because he was wearing centrist face. He was wearing center face, right? He pretended to be a centrist, but he was actually a far left communist, and people could smell that. That was just his messaging. He needed to message better to.
So could we define? Hold on, let's talk about far left communism, which, if I remember my schooling, and I don't, but if I do, pretty sure it involves eliminating capitalism and private property altogether, in addition to a violent overthrow of the government. Do you think that that's what Obama's goal was?
As a far left fascist communist, yes.
You think that Obama wanted to eliminate private property and money altogether? That's what you think Obama's position was?
Yeah, and I think there's a pretty good angle for that, actually, because like if you really wanted to get the progressive like left like angry and violent, like being Obama and promising change, and then like lying about the NSA and drone striking children and all of that is like a pretty good way of like demoralizing the entire left and pissing them off to the degree where they start like actually violently going for some kind of overthrow. Like, maybe he was trying to like martyr himself for the communist uprising, and that probably.
Do you think that's really what happened?
Absolutely.
All right. I mean, again, this is what I like. You guys are smart people. I
wouldn't go that far.
I mean, I wouldn't either. I'm just trying to flatter you. I'm trying to flatter you to get you to listen to me, which is that you should actually have opinions because there are things that matter in the world.
Okay. Well, I have another clip to play before we get too much farther here.
Wait, I did want to make one point. Defunding the police is actually a right-wing talking point. That is downsizing the government. That's a right-wing talking point, and that's where we get to like all of these
theory. You're implying that you think the right is actually anti big government, which is of course completely absurd and contrary to everything that they've done in the last 20 years.
Sure, but the Democratic Party is also anti-big government in some respects. Like, there is no real ideological purity. Like, when you actually want to talk about like left and right, when you're talking about America, like these parties are not real. They don't actually have like ideological grounds. They just have like odd shifting corporate biases. I don't know. Like really everyone's a radical centrist. They just aren't aware of it because they're.
Well, I think that insofar that everybody wants. I think that I just want to grill. As a slogan, it's a metaphor. It's highly symbolic. It just means that everybody wants to be comfortable, and not have to think about how bad things are, which is understandable. Because who wants to think about how bad things are? But it won't ever change the fact that things are actually bad and problems exist.
Yeah, I've gone over some of the problems that exist.
Right, the
Rampant
land.
land.
Yeah. I'm wise to it. I get what you're doing, bud.
Are things really like that bad, or are we focusing too much on things outside of our control? And we need to come together as communities and recognize the good things about our life. Like, is our like current epidemic of mental illness, where people are more unsatisfied and more angry than they have been in a long time, is that due to the actual material conditions of our lives, or is it due to our focusing on things that aren't grilling and are just inability to find contention and to look into the good spaces where things do work? And I don't know, I'm not.
I don't think there is a simple answer as to why there are higher diagnoses of certain mental illnesses, but I actually did go to college for this, so I
Oh God.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're just better at diagnosing it. That is, but also a lot of it has to do with economic anxiety caused by capitalism.
I actually fundamentally reject the "we're just better at diagnosing it." I actually think that people are just mentally more screwed up now than they
I
used
don't
to
think
be.
you're qualified to make a
So-
statement like that.
So what I think is that, like, back when things were better, when men had a problem, what did you do? You just got some liquor and you stuffed it down and you pushed it down there. You didn't
And
think
do you think
about
that
it.
was better?
You went, yes, it was, because you went out, you hunted, right? You secured what you needed to for your family, and you didn't think about, oh, I have social anxiety today, right? You just fucking did your shit. You went home, you got wasted. Maybe a couple of people get hit along the way, but everything worked out.
So your position is that social anxiety did not exist until Woody Allen told us all about it.
I actually think that identifying yourself as being socially anxious makes you more socially anxious. Like,
I think it existed, but yeah,
I think social anxiety is both an experience. I feel anxious in this social situation, but it's also a clinical diagnosis, and you're kind of using the two terms. The same term. It's not quite the same thing. Somebody has social anxiety. They have it. They can't do anything about it. Except for treat it, maybe with meds or therapy or mindfulness or whatever it might be.
depression, we can use that as an example too. It's like, well, I could focus on the fact that I'm depressed to make it part of my identity, or I could go, like, kill a bear, bring it home to my homestead, stuff it down with brown.
Dude, if I killed a bear, I would be so depressed. Are you kidding me?
No,
I thought
no.
about killing a bear, actually.
Yo,
Well,
what the hell? Bears are so freaking cute. Why would you want to kill one?
I have actually
They taste
shot a
good.
bear. I have
don't-
actually shot a bear before, but I haven't killed a bear.
I just think that's a bad reason. I mean, if you are on board with the ethics of hunting, I'm not going to argue that with you. That's not my job. But I don't think that you kill bears because they taste good. I don't think that's why you do it.
Shot a bear to keep us from killing a bear. There were some juveniles up around this boat camp, these juvenile grizzly bears that were coming in and getting our trash, and so we'd shoot them with bird shot so that they learned humans equal pain. Stay away from humans. It doesn't actually hurt them; it just pisses them off.
Yeah, that sounds understandable. I don't know much about that. They
That's
don't have
pretty
any bear-
centrist too. You shoot them, but you don't kill them.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, let's go. Let's move on to our next video. Getting off into the weeds a little bit. It says Obama, no ideology.
One problem you didn't have that it feels like Joe Biden kind of has today, the young left was with you. You were the cool anti-war guy. You could brush your dirt off your shoulders like Jay-Z. Today, if you're 22 years old and you've gone through economic difficulty, you've got 2 wars, there's racism all around us. Socialism is cool. Bernie, AOC, they're cool. The Democratic Party isn't really cool. What's the message, what's the pro-capitalist message, frankly, that Democrats can offer to young people?
Socialism is still a loaded term for a lot of folks. Once again, instead of talking labels and ideology, we should focus on talking about getting certain things done.
Based.
See, I actually do agree with that one. I think that socialism as a word could mean whatever the listener thinks it means. And sometimes it does tend to derail conversations when we argue about whether or not we're going to turn into communist Russia if we give our people healthcare.
Well, socialism is so 2000 late. We need new labels. Like the alt right was smart enough to do that. They're like, no, we're not Nazis. We're the alt right. We're different.
So you're
from those
admitting
guys.
that the alt right is comprised of Nazis, right?
I mean, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah, dude, those guys were such fucking nerds. I mean, Jesus Christ,
I'm still not sure if y'all are alt right and just doing weird satire.
No, dude, the alt right was a bunch of clowns. Like, I don't know, like fucking Richard Spencer, Ben Shapiro. Like, dude, no.
Okay, Ben Shapiro's not
Ben
alt-right.
Shapiro. Ben Shapiro.
He's a nerd, but he's not
I
alt-right.
guess I just classify like right wingers that are really cringy and annoying as all right at this point. Maybe that's not correct, but I don't know. Ben Shapiro.
I have a slight personal connection to Ben Shapiro. He actually went to my rival high school, a few years older than me, but they always beat us in hockey, so I fucking hate that guy.
See, that's a valid reason to hate someone. That is a centrist reason to hate someone.
Yeah.
I also hate him for all of the regular reasons, which I think that you guys should also hate him for.
Well, I just think he's a nerd.
Annoying dweeb. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to give him a swirl.
Y'all got me on this show, so that's obviously not a problem for you.
No. See, like you're not like a dweeb necessarily. I mean,
I take offense at that. I mean, look,
I would give you a swirly. Don't get me wrong, but like you're not Ben Shapiro. Oh, bullshit.
No. What do you mean bullshit? You think I've never given anybody a swirly?
I think maybe you're getting things confused right now. Like, some people,
is that not a sex act? Never mind. Holy shit. Okay. No, I just realized what you were talking about. Why would I do that to you? You're such a sweetheart.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that interview, he starts off, he says he doesn't grill, and I'm really thinking, like, what the fuck, man? Like, when did Obama get so wing-cucked? But he really proved himself through the rest of it, and I appreciate Obama for that.
I particularly liked, like, when they talk about, like, oh, you were an anti-war candidate, and that is, like, what makes Obama such a centrist to me, is he, like, came up on, like, oh, this is going to be the most transparent administration of all time. I'm anti-war. And then he's like, bam, more drone strikes than anybody has seen since fucking Vietnam. Actually, they didn't have drones in Vietnam. But like, lots of problems. And then he's all like, oh, yeah? Super transparent? Let me lie about the NSA and make sure Snowden's like kicked out. Like, he was pretty centrist in that. I liked his like weird mix of like his messaging and what he actually did. And I love people's cognitive dissonance about Obama, where like I know a lot of leftists are kind of like waking up about Obama and being like, wait a sec, he was actually a right winger, but a lot of them don't. They still view him as like this hero, and that really shows the like what wing cuckism is to me, where you think that like Obama was like a fucking left wing hero. When he, I don't know, that's what I love.
I mean, I don't think a lot of people on the left still think that about Obama. But you mentioned the drone strikes, because I want to circle back to that for a second, because that's actually super interesting. The most centrist sentence that I think I've ever heard was the defense of Obama's use of drone strikes, which is that it also prevented boots from being on the ground. So therefore, it was somewhat progressive. Because, it's definitely better to drone strike a bunch of strangers than it is to send your soldiers to die in war. Or at least
I agree with that.
That was the. So I'm just saying it's interesting that you called him out for that, because
you know what's funny about that?
Drone strikes could not be more centrist. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's actually an objectively racist policy. That's the idea that
of course it is.
Soldiers are more valuable than random brown people. Like.
Look, I'm not defending drone strikes here. I'm just saying that they're centrist and therefore evil.
They are kind of centrist just in their like completely indiscriminate nature. Like indiscriminate killing in general is kind of centrist. I know we had like targets, but we were really like bombing Doctors Without Borders. That's pretty centrist.
It's stopping the open borders movement.
Yeah, that's true, honestly.
And I don't support open borders. I don't support closed borders. I support random admission.
Order.
I like
So random.
They flip a coin, right? And you either get in if it's heads, and if it's tails, and you gotta leave. No retries. You get one shot.
I don't know. I think I'm more of a fan of a zero immigration policy where you can't leave your hometown for the rest of your life. You just have to grill with the same people forever. Like zero, like any kind of immigration, like rural to anything. We just freeze all that. We don't do any of that. And the internet's a part of that too. We gotta get rid of the internet.
Except for sending homeless people to California. We can do that immigration.
Well, yeah, obviously.
That stays.
Yeah. That'd be interesting because California would be the only place with a rising population. Would we move people out of California?
No, God, no. God, no.
Yeah, no. Oh, man. Yeah, that'd be an interesting dynamic. Actually.
Build a wall on California.
Definitely.
Pip, you got any thoughts on this? What is your centrist immigration plan?
I think we should let everybody in.
I am kind of down with that too. There's actually some pretty good like ideas behind like full on open borders. Like I don't know if that necessarily means like a one world government, but I feel like people kind of deserve it. You know.
What if it's like
the one world government doesn't seem viable in the near future? But my actual position on immigration is that we are the wealthiest country in the history of the world, and we became that way by exploiting a lot of these countries. So it is just for us to take care of the people who were, in a lot of cases, the result of that exploitation.
bring them here so we can exploit them easier. That's a great point. I agree.
I think that the standard of living is typically higher here than in the countries they come from.
So we can exploit them here. It'll be easier.
I do agree that our economy is fundamentally exploitative, and I'm glad that you said that because it's a very important leftist principle. But in terms of immigration, we should be taking care of the people that were marginalized by our policies.
Well, look. I think that open borders is a great idea, but on the border, there's like, have you ever watched Ninja Warrior, for example, right?
No, I have not.
So basically, there's like this huge parkour course. You have to like do all these sick jumps and like climb things, and I mean, it's a feat of strength. Not very many people can do it. So you have that, but in the water area below, where if you fail to say make a jump or climb a thing in a certain way, there's alligators down there, right? That's what we would do. So then it's like, yeah, the border's open. Anyone can go for it. But you gotta be real confident that you can make it.
That's an idea. I'm really big on bringing back like physical fitness, particularly for America.
We need it. We're fat as fuck.
Yeah, we sure are.
Like, honestly, we should probably make like Ninja Warrior courses on the way to people's like work or something. Like, or on the way to get a cheeseburger at McDonald's.
With the alligator pits still.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
You want that cheeseburger, fat ass? You better work for it.
Yeah, like if you're gonna go get that McDonald's cheeseburger, you better be in good enough shape to like wall platform successfully.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to actually any of this. The alligator pit sounds fun. I mean, it could be the alcohol, but I actually think that's a good idea. Provided we could. Well, I mean, for centrists, yeah, not for immigrants. Holy shit, no, that's rude.
I actually feel the other way. So the U.S. has like a ridiculously high suicide rate, which I think is a pretty good way of judging the like mental well-being of our people. And then like Japan has the highest in the world. They're a very wealthy country. Like I think that these other countries that are poorer but more community-based need to share with us their mental well-being. So that, like, are we really the ones that have been exploiting them, or are they exploiting us? Because somehow they seem happier than we are, and somehow they need to share that happiness.
See, that's a really centrist take because it's completely ridiculous, and I don't think that I could address it on any level.
It's too logical.
Right. No, but and this is why I'm surprised that you guys don't like Ben Shapiro, because Ben Shapiro does this thing where he's like, hey, 25% of Muslims support Sharia law, which means that there's 250 million people who want to kill you. And that's classic Ben Shapiro style logic. And what you just did.
Is that true?
is kind of that's the sort of, it's not true. It's completely reductive and stupid. Sharia law means a lot of different things, and the polls that I was referring to were conducted in like one country, but he used it to push this agenda that Muslims are violent. And I think that you're doing something similar with mental health here, where you're like, well, there's more people who are dying of suicide in Japan, which of course means logically that Japan has worse mental health than us. And therefore, I mean, I don't think it's that simple. And I think, again, one of the fundamental aspects of centrism is not thinking about things or learning more details about them to see how they actually work, which again,
I disagree.
I find super relatable, which is why I'm here, because I don't like to think either.
Okay, so
clearly
the problem with Ben Shapiro is like Muslims are all violent. It's not the idea that Muslims are violent, but the idea that like political violence itself is a bad thing. Like, gee, maybe Muslims are violent because we keep like turning their countries into like war grounds, and like I don't know. I think Muslims are very.
Have you ever talked to a Muslim person?
Violent. Like, I think that Muslim terrorism is. I don't want to get your show canceled right here, but like,
I can't be Islamophobic. I have a Muslim friend.
That is a very centrist position, but yeah, I just think that you probably shouldn't be talking about Muslim people.
Okay, I just want to say that like Luke Skywalker, his story is essentially the story of a Muslim extremist, and everyone thinks he's a good guy, but somehow when the Muslims do it, they're a bad guy.
That's true. That is true.
For the sake of my mental
These
health,
blast point,
I don't think
too accurate for sand people, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Like he jihads, dude. He jihads their fucking star station.
He does.
He jihads the entire. He's like, I'll die for the Force. His like mysterious religion, like in the sand, like dude, like
that he believes in immediately.
Yeah,
like he doesn't question it at all. He's just like, yeah, the Force, midichlorians, that makes sense. Cool. He's radicalized very soon.
Yes, he immediately gets radicalized. And everyone's like, Luke Skywalker's a good guy, but these Muslim people are a bad guy, and it's like, no, I don't know about that. I'm not convinced of it.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know what movie is this? I'm not familiar with.
Star Wars? You're not familiar with Star Wars?
No, I'm fucking with you. I know Star Wars, bud.
Okay, to close this segment out, I just want to say the Grillcast is a pro-Muslim show. Pro-Islam. I even declared jihad on a group. You can go ahead and check that video out at the Grillcast on YouTube to any listeners. All right, so we're going to move on to our last segment today. So Ajit Pai, we mentioned him earlier. He is the land chat of the internet. A lot of people hated him. A lot of people, at one point, everybody said he was the most hated man in the country because he took net neutrality and he scrapped it. He knew it wasn't popular, but he knew that it would help everybody. He did what he had to help our country, and for that, I thank him. He's stepping down on January 20th, the day that President-elect Joe Biden is inaugurated. He says, "It has been the honor of a lifetime to serve at the Federal Communications Commission, including as chairman of the FCC over the past 4 years. I am grateful to President Trump for giving me the opportunity to lead the agency in 2017, to President Obama for appointing me as a commissioner in 2012, and to Senate Majority Leader McConnell in the Senate for twice confirming me. To be the first Asian American to chair the FCC has been a particular privilege. As I often say, only in America." That's powerful. That's very powerful.
That is powerful right there.
It's powerful as like a sedative, because that was super boring that I stopped paying attention midway through, and I'm kind of tired now.
There's some interesting tidbits here. First off, I love that he clarifies as the first Asian American. It's good to see that minority representation.
I support Asian American land chads.
Yeah, like I was really excited to see see Biden appoint the first female head of the Pentagon. She's a cool person.
Yeah. I'm glad to see representation like that in our government, and I think everybody should be. It's about time that, it's about time that they are the faces of our nation. They put in a lot of work.
Yeah, right. I'm on board with woke imperialism for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm good at too. Is like I like when they show a diversity of opinion. Like Times had an article like 5 years ago where it was the woman who led us to war, and it was about Hillary Clinton and two other senators who vehemently argued that we needed to go bomb the shit out of Libya, and it was talking about how they really got away from like the feminine stereotypes of being like peace loving and all that by really pushing for like war. You know, like these women came at it, they got out of their assigned like gender roles, and they did something, and that's the kind of empowerment that I like to see.
Me too. Me too. And we're gonna go ahead. We have just a couple of clips here, and then we're gonna wrap up. Ajit Pai, he's said a lot in these last few years. He's had a lot of haters, and he's done well to address them. We're gonna start off with our first clip here today.
You probably know about it already, but earlier today, the FCC chairman announced a plan to repeal and draw back a lot of net neutrality laws and kind of change the way that we access the internet. And that sounds bad because it is bad.
That's just like your opinion, man. Thanks, guys. You gonna have my coffee? All right.
King moment. Drinking out of the king's cup. Yeah.
I'm sorry, that is so funny. Holy shit. What?
Dude, Ajit Pai, like, he knows that he's hated, and he's willing to put himself out there to defend his positions. How is that not respectable?
Because his positions are terrible and bad for the world.
They're actually not. Like, what I want to talk about with net neutrality is I'm not actually crazy informed about this issue, but nor is anybody else. Like, net neutrality is so colored by the fact that every social media platform, because it essentially meant that Facebook, Reddit, and them had to pay more money to ISPs. And there was just such an aggressive, corporate-driven social media campaign against this. Like, when they were talking about net neutrality, they're saying all this outlandish shit. Like, if it gets repealed, you're going to have to, like, pay for websites, like, channels. Like, I don't know if you remember this, but there was all this, like, crazy fear-mongering about this.
Well, I mean, the thing that I heard the most often as somebody who's not too informed on this issue, what I heard the most was that they would throttle data of people, for not paying as much as the corporations were paying, who would be able to hoard that data.
Which didn't happen. The cost got passed off to the social media companies, and the social media companies were trying to say these costs were going to get passed on to consumers, and they didn't. They got passed on to the social media companies, which was what was going to happen. They just didn't like it. Like, net neutrality is a weird issue because I actually just think the entire thing was completely disingenuous, and that like the reason why there's like all these subreddits on Reddit or all these communities on Facebook where their top posts are about net neutrality is explicitly because it hurt these social media companies' paycheck. And I'm not really that interested in arguing about whether social media companies or ISPs should have more money. I hate them all. So I don't know. I think it's
very centrist. No, look, the honest thing that I have to say is that most of the things that you have said today have horrified me. So I am inclined to disagree with you, but I can't because I don't actually have any knowledge.
He's making a great point. Now, I'll say this.
You might be if it's true, but I'm not sure if it is.
One of the big arguments for it was that, Ajit Pai, he was in bed with Verizon, with these ISPs, because he did work for Verizon. And, a lot of people are saying he's just using the government to help them. And this next video is going to show that that's not the truth.
In conclusion, sorry, Freudian slip, my bad. Many people are still shell-shocked that I'm up here tonight. They ask themselves, how on earth did this happen? Well, moments before tonight's dinner, somebody leaked a 14-year-old video that helps answer that question. And in all candor, I can no longer hide from the truth, and so I might as well own it. Let's take a look. Yeah, and the cover charge is $20 as long as we get there by 2 a.m. It should be. Join. Hey, gee. What's going on? I went to a Three Doors Down concert at the MCI Center last night. It was fun.
How relatable.
Very.
What's up? Okay.
As you know, the FCC is captured by industry, but we think it's not captured enough, so we put up a plan.
A plan, so what do you have in mind?
We want to brainwash and groom a Verizon puppet to install this feature. I know, right? Really too First, this is going to take 14 years to implement. We need to find something smart, young, ambitious, but dorky enough to throw the scent on.
These people really can't do comedy.
We need to find a Republican who will be able to win the presidency in 2016 and appoint you to FCC chairman. I think our best bet is an outsider, but I have no idea who that could be. If only somebody could give us a sign.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is how I became chairman of the FCC.
So see, he's a transparent man. He's very transparent about his interests. He shows everybody that, that's where he came from.
Well, I mean, all I could do is quote Three Doors Down and say I'm call me Superman because I must have gone crazy.
Have you ever seen Three Doors Down? They're a great band. That's what really made me like this guy.
I mean, I don't remember anything about them except for the song Kryptonite. And as a child, I was a fan of Superman, so I was a fan of that song. As a
Ajit Pai is a good guy.
That's not what I said.
Oh my god!
It pretty much is what you said.
I mean, more or less.
Song. I know Ryan hated that song too. Oh god.
I think it's got a pretty good riff. That opening riff. That's the one.
You're on the pie train now. You're skeeting with the Jeetin.
Look, I mean, if it will get me off this podcast, yes, I'm on the pie train.
Okay. We got one more video, and then I'll let you go.
All right.
One more. PSA from the chairman of FCC, Ajit Pai.
Hi, I'm Ajit Pai. I'm the chairman of the FCC. Recently, there's been quite a bit of conversation about my plan to restore internet freedom. Here are just a few of the things you'll still be able to do on the internet after these Obama-era regulations are repealed. You can still gram your food.
I like hot Cheetos.
I can't believe this is real.
And hot sauce, nice.
Did I drop acid? What is going on right now?
You can still post photos of cute animals, like puppies. You can still shop for all your Christmas presents online. Yes, got that bulk deal on fidget spinners. Yes, those Eclipse glasses are so cheap. You can still binge watch your favorite shows.
Organic popcorn, that's pretty centrist.
You can still stay part of your favorite fan community.
Luke Skywalker.
You can still drive.
Yeah, let's circle back to Luke Skywalker.
And do the Harlem Shake.
The Harlem Shake. Fuck yeah.
Girl on the right can get it.
Yeah.
And everything else you ever did on the
I
internet.
still think the chicks that smoke are hot. Is that a minority opinion by now, or like is that?
I actually agree with that.
Okay,
as
good.
as a
Thank God.
smoker, I think smokers are hot, but yeah, I mean,
big time. And their throats are all numbed too, so it's like nice.
I gotta
Yeah.
be honest with you though. If you're really concerned about the suicide rate, I don't know why you would have showed me that video.
Okay, dude. Look, Ajit Pai, he's one of us. He's a common man. He goes on the gram, okay? He likes Star Wars. You know, I don't know what else you want from him. He's
I don't-
relatable.
Are you saying that there is no quality in a person besides liking Star Wars that you think is good or worth having?
I would-
Fidget spinners.
Yeah, fidget spinners. I like fidget spinners.
Fidget spinners are great. I'm fully persuaded by your.
As an autistic, you know, I like fidget spinners a lot.
Are you autistic, or are you fake autistic?
Yes.
He's scared of a diagnosis. He's never tried.
I mean, look, man, you could get help. It's available, and I do encourage it. I do think that you there's always hope, and I know that centrism is rooted in apathy, so you might not have a lot of hope right now. But I just want to let you know.
I don't know why you think that.
As my closing statement, things are going to work out for you. They're going to be okay, and you could at some point get to maybe you'll get to a point in life where you could both grill and be happy. But until that day comes,
I think I'm doing that
please don't
right.
ask me to come back on your podcast. Good night. Yeah.
As a closing, he's out. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's out, thank God. That is funny. I wish we'd been able to convince him that our beliefs are rooted in apathy. Like, the problem is that wingcuckery is actually rooted in nihilism. It's rooted in the belief that everything is wrong and that their grand revolutionary changes are going to change the conditions of their life when they aren't. You know, their problems reside somewhere a lot deeper than the grand political spectrum, and that's where grilling comes into play. It's how we get together and help each other on a real level. I don't know.
It's our form of therapy.
Yeah, it's the only real form of therapy that works. And
exactly. And I wish we could have communicated that to him better. I think when your mind is blocked by wingcuckery, when you're so set in your ways and you're not as fluid as the average grilla, I think that you know, you have a hard time accepting that. But we will definitely have him on again, and we will convince him next time.
I like having him here. You know, I like trying to convince him, and we're gonna work on him, and we're gonna help him, just like we're working to help our Wingcuck viewers to see the way that things should be. I don't know.
Exactly. Now, we're all out of Ajit Pai clips. I have a few from when he was on Harold and Kumar, but, you know, due to copyright, I don't think I'm going to be able to play that. So I think we're going to have to end our show here. I want to thank Pip for coming on. That was a really good time. Hopefully we can have him on again.
Yeah, that was great. I like that. He was a good guy, you know.
He didn't even get to pitch socialism to us.
I know. He said he had a great pitch. Well, that's okay.
Next time.
I had fun on here, you know. I'll probably come on again. I'll see you around.
Thanks for coming on. Peace out, Grillas.
If you think I'm not number one, I done spelled that rumor. Hit that victory royale on some motherfucking coochie. Default dance on a bitch. Hit the default dance on a bitch. Floss dance while I'm flossing in the whip. Victory royale when that chopper hit. Self-incrimination, I have no participation. News keep asking, I don't say shit. You can't have my conversation.